Do you suspect you might be in a toxic relationship, but you're confused and you need to know what the concrete signs are? Toxic relationships aren't always easy to identify. On the outside, they can actually look quite healthy and loving. But if you're feeling these signs inside, chances are you are in a toxic relationship and you need to consider leaving. I can't tell you the number of relationships I was in that I tried to make work, thinking that they were healthy and worth fighting for. But because I was totally disconnected from my body and internal signals, I completely missed these signs and had no idea that the dynamic was actually toxic for me. If reconnecting to your body so that you can learn these discernment skills is something you want to learn how to do, this is the work that I do with my clients, and I'd love to speak with you on a call so that I can show you how I can best guide you through that journey. You can book a call at the link in my calendar in the description below. Now, healthy relationships should uplift you, they should support you and give you confidence to be more of yourself. And you have this feeling of being secure in your partner's interest and intention, that you're building something together, and there's no doubt or uncertainty about the landscape within the connection. You might have conflict every now and then, but there's enough repair for you to feel that kind of safety and that ground is solid that you're standing on. Toxic relationships, on the other hand, there is physical, emotional, financial abuse, there is constant criticism, control, manipulation, contempt, there is lack of boundaries or lack of respect for boundaries, there is jealousy and possessiveness, and a general lack of accountability or projection from that person or both parties. Now, that's the extreme, but what about this gray area, right? Where the external signs of toxic behaviors aren't always apparent. We need to rely on our body and how safe we feel with that person in order to tell us whether this is a healthy or toxic dynamic for us. Now, there's a caveat to this. If you felt these things before you were even in a relationship, so on your own you feel these internal signs, it might not be a direct sign that the relationship is the main cause per se, but your relationship to yourself needs to be strengthened as well. So the caveat is that these signs have come up since you've been in the relationship with this person that you're wondering whether it's toxic or not. Sign one is that you feel like you're losing yourself. So the relationship requires you to show up in a way that is different from yourself. So there's might be a high maintenance dynamic, right? It's taking up a lot of your time and energy, and there's a preference from your partner for you to do and be certain ways and things and to sort of show up in that way as well. And you go along willingly, you don't set boundaries, but after a time you realize you kind of feel like you're losing yourself and that there's not space for you to really be your authentic self. Sign two is that you notice you're always trying to prove yourself to them, right? Like you never feel good enough and you feel focused on earning your partner's approval, right? You might even have this kind of like playful brownie points or point system going on, but that's a sign that, right, there's kind of this power dynamic at play where that person's kind of counting these little things that you do and you feel like you're having to keep earning points with them, right? So you find yourself doing or saying things in order to kind of win them over, win those points, and you might be taking up hobbies and interests that aren't actually yours. And of course, there's a caveat with that. Like sometimes we want to share great things with our partner, but if this is something that you're kind of leaving behind your own hobbies and interests and their kind of hobbies and interests are taking up a lot of your time, it's a sign that you're kind of changing yourself to be more palatable to them or to connect better with them, and that you're trying to prove yourself in that relationship. Sign number three is that you feel inadequate in the relationship. Now, again, this is a power dynamic principle, right? He's on higher ground, and where there's kind of this subtle feeling of you're being put down, or these little criticisms, like you're just not quite fitting in with things the way that he wants you to, right? Or it can even happen in the space and silence of what he doesn't do, right? Like you kind of expect where there's a bid for attention or something that he would show up and he doesn't. And in his absence or choosing to not do that behavior, that's making you feel inadequate. Or you just might not be feeling supported or lifted up. You might not feel like your love language is being met and there's not nurturing there. So your cup kind of always feels empty. There's a lot of scarcity in this kind of a dynamic, and that's making you feel inadequate. Step four is that you, just in your kind of resting state, consciously feel a bit anxious or on edge, right? Your body never feels totally safe with them, and your partner's reactions and their disposition doesn't actually promote enough safety or connection for you to ever fully relax. You might even feel like you're walking on little eggshells or big eggshells because of their reactions, or your fear of their reaction, right, causes a kind of reaction in your body, and you're trying to avoid conflict, right? You're actually curating what you say and what you do in order to kind of like keep the peace. So there's this kind of bubbling of uncertainty going on all the time. Sign number 5 is that you doubt yourself. Again, if you were feeling this way before you went into the relationship, it's not necessarily a sign that the relationship is wrong. It might be something to do within yourself. But if you've been like confident in the past and now in this relationship you're starting to doubt yourself and you don't trust your senses, because the kind of mirror of the relationship is that your partner sees things significantly differently and isn't like validating your emotional experience, which is what a healthy relationship would do, that's going to foster this self-doubt, right? So what you feel and what your partner feels is different, which is normal in a relationship, but your partner isn't validating you in the way that you're validating them, okay? So it's kind of like this subtle gaslighting and manipulation that's going on from your partner that's causing self-doubt to creep in. Sign number 6 is that you actually feel a little trapped or a little suffocated in the relationship. And this is because you don't have any space to be yourself in the relationship, right? Your boundaries are being ignored or walked over or not respected, right? All the aforementioned signs have led to this place where you don't feel like you can actually be yourself, and you don't feel like you have a healthy choice in this relationship, right? Like in a healthy relationship, it's two people choosing to be with each other every day, right? There's this conscious choice that's being made. Whereas in this kind of dynamic, there's kind of a feeling that you have to be here. Maybe there's some kind of subtle manipulation to stay in the relationship. Like they may have said something about how awful their life would be if they lost you, or whatever that might be. And it's not in kind of a loving or a nurturing way. It's kind of in a bit of a controlling way, right? This is something that's going to make you feel trapped or suffocated. Sign number 7 is that you feel isolated from your friends, your family, the people around you, the life that you had before you came into the relationship. And this can sometimes happen really subtly, right? The dynamic in the relationship you have with that person just doesn't match or go well with the dynamic you have with your friends and family. And so you have a tendency not to hang out with them because the vibe you have with your partner is different from the vibe you have with your friends and family. This is a red flag, right? This is a real sign that this is not a healthy relationship to be in. And this can just sometimes be because your partner isn't comfortable with your family, or is critical of them, or just doesn't like them. Now, in a healthy relationship, it's normal for partners to maybe not like certain members of the family, but overall, if you get along well with your family, you expect your partner to make an effort to get along with them enough to give you time to have your partner and your family all together. But if you're just really feeling isolated from them because of the dynamic between you and this person, and this kind of subtle isolating of you is going on, that's a real red flag that you're in a toxic dynamic. The last red flag, number 8, is that you feel relief when you're apart. I remember feeling this way. I thought I was in a loving relationship. Then I realized when I'd spend time away from him that I actually kind of preferred it. And this was a real shocker for me, right? There's a sense of freedom that I had when I was apart from them. And this is where you feel relief from just not having them around, because when they're around, right, there's this high maintenance dynamic and you've got to walk on some eggshells, and it takes quite a bit of energy to be with them. So when you're not with them, there's some relief, and who you are away from them is different from who you are when you're with them. And your habits significantly change when you're away from them, and being away from them allows you to be yourself, and you just have a more rich and more fulfilling experience. So these are signs that are going to help you identify the more subtle dynamics around what toxic relationships can look and feel like, particularly from your experience and from within yourself in the body. And if learning these skills and these kinds of discernment so that you can break your unhealthy relationship patterns is something that you want to learn how to do and how to lean into it, I urge you to book a call with me so that I can chat with you and get to know you and tell you how I can best guide you along that journey. I'd love to speak with you. There's a link to my calendar in the description below. And for now, here are some next step videos you can watch to move one step closer to having a whole and happy and peaceful and joyful relationship to yourself. And for now, I will see you in the next video.